I want to go to Robert Charles, the former Bush 41 staffer, former Bush 43 Assistant Secretary of State, get his thoughts on what's going on with Russia, and a tense relationship. I think that's probably an understatement, Robert. But they have warned already that we should be prepared for uncomfortable signals ahead of this summit between President Biden and President Putin. What do you think they mean by uncomfortable signals?
Well, I think, honestly, what we're looking at, Neil, is they meet on June 16th, and I think that Russia is testing Biden, testing all of us. I think that's transparent. And I think Biden needs to show a little less Neville Chamberlain and a little more Winston Churchill, which isn't just firmness. It's also just understanding what's really in front of him. Russia and China are coordinating closely. When the senior leadership of Russia and China met on March 23rd, within hours after that, you had the Ukraine, the buildup of Russian troops on the Ukraine border, and you had tense flybys and intensive exercises around Taiwan by China. They're going to meet this week, by the way, again, prior to the summit between Putin and Biden. So I think Biden just needs to toughen up a little bit. I mean, there's some big issues up here. One is whether Biden says, listen, you're not going into the Ukraine. We're not going to tolerate that. Another one has to do with political dissidence. Another has to do with hacking, SolarWinds, and the potential links to the colonial hack. Others have to do with things like Belarus and the air piracy. So, I mean, we need to go in with a firm agenda, and we need to make clear ahead of time that this isn't going to be just a showcase, and this isn't going to be about, we'll say something bland about climate change when it's all done. We need to talk seriously. And I think, interestingly, there are ways in which the United States could coordinate and cooperate with Russia instead of pushing them to cooperate with China. And, of course, China's the big target, Neil. We all know that. China's really the threat. Economically, militarily, diplomatically, ideologically, China's the driver.
But I do wonder when China and Russia are cozying up to each other, which was very different from at the time when Russia, I believe in 2015, went into the Ukraine. The fact that they're in concert on so much makes me wonder what we should be preparing ourselves for maybe as soon as this summer. What do you think?
Well, I think that whether it's before or after the summit, what they profit from is an unstable world environment. So, you know, China is also talking closely with Iran. Russia is talking with Iran. The fact that Iran is behind Hamas and you get instability in the Middle East, that only helps China in terms of their ability to put down unrest in Hong Kong, to potentially threaten or worse Taiwan, the Sakhalin Islands, other islands in the South China Sea. I will say that one of the shocking things to me is to see that we are not going to have an aircraft carrier in the Pacific. That's an odd turn of events. We're going to send the Ronald Reagan over to coordinate our withdrawal from Afghanistan. To me, there is a lack of cohesion in the Biden foreign policy. It can be fixed, but it needs to be fixed in places like that summit, no matter what Russia does ahead of the summit.
Robert Charles, great catching up with you. I'm not sure I liked everything you were catching us up on, but thank you very much, my friend.